Okay, if I talk again. Good afternoon, General Sir. Thanks for having me, and Director CGSC, Colonel, thank you for allowing me the honor to be here amongst my teammates. I have served as part of our state partnership with the Georgian Defense Forces since the beginning of my career. So the entire 25 years, I've been somehow directly or indirectly involved with the state partnership program. So it's an honor to be back in Georgia and to be able to engage you on what I think is a very important topic. I didn't bring a lot of slides because I'd like for this to be a discussion and for you to ask questions and for us to have a little bit of dialogue with respect to Mission Command. Now, there are a lot of people, a lot of units, a lot of armies, militaries out there trying to understand this concept associated with Mission Command. And the United States Army is one of them. We work hard every day at executing Mission Command as opposed to command and control. So I'm just going to go over a quick definition here, and you all have seen this. I know that you're looking at ADP 6.0 as your guiding document, and that's the guiding document that we use. It's the exercise of authority and direction by the commander using mission orders to enable disciplined initiative within the commander's intent to empower agile and adaptive leaders in the conduct of unified land operations. It's a lot of words, but what does it really mean? And what is it that we as leaders need to do when it comes to Mission Command? And I'll tell you, for me, the most important piece of being able to execute Mission Command is leader development. There's some assumptions associated with Mission Command, and that's that you have agile and adaptive leaders. So I can't just come up with a plan, develop a mission order, and issue a task to a commander or a leader that's not ready to do what it is that I'm asking them to do. So I tell our formations that we are a leadership factory. We're a potential factory. And so that's what the military does. It's bigger than just being able to go out and do a mission. In order to do the things that we need to do, we've got to build leaders that are adaptive and that can exercise initiative. And that's easy to say and it's hard to do. General, I'll tell you, as the leader of your military education system, your job, I don't have to tell you, is huge. And it's vitally important to being able to develop a culture of Mission Command across the formation. So there's 6 guiding principles associated with Mission Command. I'm sure you probably read all these too, but I'm just going to go over them briefly. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples and probably some humorous anecdotes with respect to Mission Command. Number 1, we got to build cohesive teams through mutual trust. Number 2, we got to create shared understanding. Number 3, we got to provide a clear commander's intent. Exercise disciplined initiative, use mission orders, and accept prudent risk. Fairly simple steps associated with Mission Command, and I will tell you, it's easy to say, very, very hard to do. So let's start out with building cohesive teams through mutual trust. Does anybody know what a conditioned intuitive response is? Any student here know what a conditioned intuitive response is? Nobody? I'll give you an example. So who drives a vehicle in here? Who drives an automobile? Everybody drive? Okay, everybody drives. So you see a police car on the side of the road. You're fairly confident that that police officer is running radar and has a radar gun, right, to check your speed. And so whether you're speeding or not, what do you do when you see that car? You place the front bumper of your car almost on the pavement because you're slowing down. Whether you're speeding or not, you check yourself next time you're driving and you see a police car, whether you're speeding or not, you're going to slow down. Why would you do that? Because it's a conditioned intuitive response, okay? And that's how we have to look at Mission Command. If we're going to execute Mission Command in a way that saves lives, that bends the odds in your favor, you have to make it a conditioned intuitive response in your formations. Again, easy to say, hard to do, but I want to give you rather than giving you a bunch of PowerPoint slides and super high level concepts that nobody understands, I want to give you a picture in your mind that you can take back to your formation is that what am I really trying to create amongst those formations? And first and foremost, with your subordinate leaders, you have to create conditioned, intuitive responses. And that's how, when you go back to it, that's how you build mutual trust. Because if I know that your conditioned, intuitive response, we've trained together, we face these conditions day in and day out in training, I know how you're going to react. And if I know how you're going to react, because I've observed it, I've been a part of it with you, then I trust you. And if I trust you, then I'm going to extend you a little bit more authority than I would if I didn't trust you, or if I hadn't trained with you, and if I didn't know what your capabilities were, how far you could go, what your limits were. It's kind of like muscle memory. Same sort of concept. If you have the right muscle memory programmed into your formation and you have those responses, it really does make a huge difference. But it's not just going to happen because we say it. It's not going to happen because we talk about it. It's not going to happen because we have a symposium, okay? It's going to happen if we train it, if we enforce it, if we issue the appropriate course corrections during training, where if someone is doing something and it's not consistent with what you as a commander would expect, you've got to be able to course correct them, without essentially, taking their spirit away from them, but you've got to train people. That's part of what we do. Sets and repetitions. Who lifts weights in here? Who lifts weights? Who does physical fitness training? Everybody do physical fitness training? Okay. Sets and repetition. Sets and repetitions. It's very, very important that you take opportunities to do sets and repetitions over and over and over again. So here's where I think we go wrong. You all may have this down by now, but I think where we try to train mission command is in the context of large-scale exercises. That's what I see in our Army, is we think we can only train mission command, or that when we train it at the most detailed level is when we do exercises. I will tell you that you can create a culture of mission command during everything that you do day in and day out. So I'll give you an example. General Milley, who's now going to be the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, was Chief of Staff of the Army. And he was doing a lot of discussion with our Army about how do we do better at mission command. And at one point, he tells a story about when he went to take some leave, and he realized that it took over 20 pieces of paper for him to take leave. 20 different actions so that one soldier could take leave. And so he was looking back at our own Army, and he said, hey, when I was a company commander, a company commander would sign the form, and the first sergeant would sign the form, give a safety briefing, and the soldier was able to take leave. But as we grew over time, and I think part of it had something to do with fighting a counterinsurgency fight versus a near-peer competitor, is that we added requirements that really didn't matter. We added requirements that didn't matter, and so he started not only taking a look at something as simple as how you take leave. Now, you wouldn't think about your leave process as part of the mission command dynamic, but you send a message to your leaders and to everybody around you when you stack requirement after requirement after requirement on top of them, because it sends a message that they have to be checked for every I dotted, every single thing done exactly the way that it needs to be done, even when it doesn't matter, even whether it's inconsequential about whether you can successfully take leave or not. You understand what I'm saying? And so we built these requirements in over time, and it slowed us down a little bit. The other piece that I learned, particularly in my last job as the deputy commander of a multinational division in NATO, is I took for granted, I think, my Army's culture with respect to how we leverage the skills associated with our non-commissioned officers. And so I was running a division rear CP, and I walked into the command post one day, and we had a lot of computers in the command post. We had an analog backup with maps and acetate, but we had a lot of computers. And I looked on the computers, and the only people working on the computers were who? Commissioned officers. NCOs were sort of standing behind them. And so I walked into the CP one day and I said, hey, we're going to reverse roles. We're going to reverse roles. No officers on the computers. I want the NCOs on the computers doing the spreadsheets, sending the reports. I need the officers to be able to stand back and develop options for the commander. Because that's what you should be doing. That's what you're getting paid to do. That's what makes your formations more agile, more flexible, more lethal. But if you, as a leader, if you're so tied up in a spreadsheet or a report that you're not developing options for the commander, in essence, you're not doing mission command, B, you're making your formation less safe. And I didn't realize how hard that was from a cultural perspective to make the shift. But the only way to do it was just to do it. And we did it in training. It really worked out very well for us, and it gave our non-commissioned officers, that we empowered them, that we had confidence in them, and over the course of the exercises, we moved that division toward combat readiness evaluation to be certified as NATO's first division that was certified combat ready since like 2004. I will tell you that division got a lot better because 80% of that division was non-commissioned officers. And so when I walked into that command post on the first day, we had about 20% of the total human capital. The leaders that we had about 20% of them working, and I had about 80% of them watching. And so when we were able to put our non-commissioned officers to work and the skill sets that they have, because they have professional military education, just like our non-commissioned officers here, we had 100% of the division working, and we really had nobody watching except for the observer controllers that were coming in to do observation and provide AARs, and it worked out really good for us. So I would just encourage you, as you move along this journey toward mission command, look around your command post. Look around your formations and figure out what your officers are doing that your NCOs should be doing and empower them to do it. I'll tell you, you will be surprised at how far and how fast your formations will improve when you do that. But you can't do it without training. We have to train our non-commissioned officer corps. We've got to train our junior officers, and we've got to create a culture that enables them to reach their full potential. So I'll ask a couple of questions here. So who here has ever requested a bus? Requested the use of a bus? Do you have buses? Yes. You have buses? All right. So who is the approval authority to get a bus in the Georgian Army? Who's got to sign off on it? It's a general. A general. Did everybody hear that? To get a bus, we got to get a general. All right? So that tells us we got some work to do. We got some work to do. I'll tell you, in my formation, it's a staff sergeant. A staff sergeant manages the bus fleet. And he does a really good job of managing the bus fleet, which frees up the general to do general stuff, right? Okay, so I will tell you one of the biggest problems we have with mission command is that we talk about it, but then if we look at ourselves and if we look at our day-to-day policies, and there's nothing associated with a large-scale exercise, I'm talking about a bus to put 40 soldiers on to go from point A to point B for a legitimate purpose, right? And we got to go to a general. And the reason I asked this question is because I asked the same question when I was in Romania. I said, hey, we were talking about mission command, and I'll give you one better. And there, with my teammates, it was a 3-star general, the director of the logistics command, to sign out a bus. And so, and I don't say that to make light of it, and we laugh at it because it is a little bit humorous, but if we're going to do mission command, and I know I've talked to the leadership, and your minister is taking this serious, and he said, hey, we got to take a look at laws and policies and regulations that are between us and getting our formations to mission command. And so I will tell you, the senior leadership of this organization understands this. But I just wanted to throw that question out because I thought it would help us shine a light on those things that we're doing every day. We do things like, and there's a million, I'll ask you another one. So if you wanted an ink cartridge, who's got a printer in their office? Who's got a printer? Where you at? So who do you have to go to get an ink cartridge? You got an NCO that does it? That's awesome. That's awesome. I'll tell you, I asked that question in my division. We were briefing our division commander at the multinational division one day, and there was a lieutenant colonel in the room that couldn't get print cartridges. And I was the deputy, I'm sitting there next to a 2-star, and the lieutenant colonel says, sir, we need some print cartridges. We don't have them. And so my 2-star general, my boss, is taking a note. He's taking a note. And so he gets up after the meeting and he gets ready to leave. Hey, Tom, you got anything? I go, no, sir, I don't have anything. And he leaves the room and I'm like, nobody move. The next time somebody asks a 2-star general in this headquarters about how to get a print cartridge, I'm going to lose my mind. All right? It's because we need to, you guys have apparently cracked the nut on that one. But just take a look at yourself about how do you get the keys to the motor pool? Who signs out? Small things. But if you're having to go way up in the chain of command to get very basic things done, you're working against yourself when it comes to getting after mission command. And all the meetings and symposiums and key leader engagements in the world not gonna get you there if your policies are working against you. So how many of you react to verbal orders over written orders, or do you have to have a written order to be able to change course? How does that work here? Do you prefer it in writing? You feel better if you got that piece of paper with a wax seal or a stamp on it? You sleep better at night when you got that right? All right. So you can go all the way back in our doctrine to World War II and General Patton. And one of his main orders that he put out during the fight was verbal orders must always take precedence over written orders. Because in combat, you're not going to be able to get it that fast. And if you train yourself to wait on it day in and day out, you can be frustrated with it and you can complain about it. But what you're doing is you're making yourself less safe. You're making your formations less safe because we're developing conditioned, intuitive responses that make us less safe. And so I will tell you, take a hard look at everything that you do, at who's got what decision authority at what level. But again, it goes back to you got to train people to be able to deal with the authority that you want to delegate to them. I can give you 100 examples in my own formation that I need to go change tomorrow, okay? And make it and power down just a little bit more every day. And as I learn those things, I make those adjustments. But it's always better, I think, when you look at yourself and make those adjustments that you're prepared to make at the time. So I'll move on to number 2. We're going to talk about create a shared understanding. Easy to say, hard to do, and what does it really mean and how do we do it? Well, I'll tell you, I got 3 priorities in my organization, okay? 3 strategic priorities. The first one's people, all right? You cannot deploy a vacancy. All right, you got to have humans, right? They got to be trained, they got to be in the proper position, they got to be properly equipped and fully deployable, right? Got to have people. You got to be ready. You got to have the equipment. The equipment's got to be ready. It's got to be serviceable. You got to have infrastructure. You got to have all the things that you need from a maintenance and equipping perspective to be able to close with and destroy the enemy. And I can measure people and readiness. My third priority, and all of them to me, I weigh them equally, but the third one is communication. It's hard for me to measure communication, all right, because you got a sender and you got a receiver. It's like me talking to you right now. And why I try to use very simple examples is I want you to have a picture in your head of what I'm trying to talk about, so that when you walk out of here and you have a picture of what you're trying to create, I want you to think about that conditioned intuitive response. I want you to think about stepping on the brake when you see that radar gun, and how do you build that in your formations. So communication is a tough one. It is absolutely the hardest thing that we attempt on a daily basis with our formations. And it's because leaders like me are used to being in the sin mode, right? We sinned a lot, but where we fail, where I fail, is to do what I call a check on learning. Hey, here's what I told you. Now tell me back what I told you, so I know that you understood what it is that I'm trying to articulate to you. Okay? I call that a check on learning. A check on learning. And so I would just encourage you, if you want to create a shared understanding, when you issue mission orders, or you issue instructions, or you issue a task, is to just go back, and it's not to insult anyone's intelligence. It's more of a test to you. If I send a message and I ask you, hey, what did I just say? And he gives it back to me, yep, you got it. I can't tell you how many times I've issued an instruction, asked for the back brief, and I'm like, where did you get that from? And it wasn't because most of the people that I'm talking to are pretty highly educated war college graduates, okay? National Defense University graduates, master's degrees, most of the time more than one. So they're not unintelligent people. These are smart people that I'm dealing with. And so what I believe is, when I do the check on learning, and they give me back something that I didn't say to them, I think it's my problem. I think it's my fault. I think I have failed to communicate appropriately what I want them to accomplish. So check yourself, and check yourself by doing a check on learning, and your capacity to create a shared understanding will go up quickly if you take the time to do that. Provide clear commander's intent. Again, this one's difficult. It's difficult because the problem that I've seen over the years is commanders are busy, and when they go through the process, the military decision-making process, we've all struggled and wrestled with this process in our career, is a lot of commanders do what I call attend the process versus participate in the process. I can assure you that if you do not write, it's 100% chance. There are not many odds that are 100%, but I almost give you 100% guarantee. If you do not write your own intent, you will not get the desired result. You will not get the desired result. Now, your staff can help you craft your intent, but I would encourage you that if you want to provide a clear commander's intent, invest in it and put it in writing. Okay, if you can. If you've got time, again, there will be times when you'll have to give verbal instructions, and that's where a check on learning will be very helpful to you. But if you're writing mission orders and you're laying out your intent, take the time to write it yourself. And there are a million different tactics, techniques, and procedures associated with doing that. And this kind of gets back to a further step with respect to giving mission type orders, but I'll just go ahead and offer this to you now. In my mind, the purpose is more important than the task. What is it that you're trying to achieve at the end of the day is way more important. And I'll give you a couple of examples. Let's just say that you needed to, the mission that you were given to a subordinate unit that was associated with securing a bridge. Okay? Now let's just say this bridge, these speakers over here. All right? So your job is to secure the bridge. Secure being the task. But in order to secure the bridge, in order to allow the passage of, say, a follow-on unit that may be the main effort, okay? Because you're probably a supporting effort, okay? So we're going to secure this bridge, and the purpose is to pass the main effort through. But when you get to the bridge, the enemy has already destroyed it. They've already destroyed the bridge. So you are unable to accomplish your task associated with this bridge. Okay? So some subordinate leaders will stop there. They will stop there and the clock starts ticking, right? And that clock ticking is taking you in that formation closer to total mission failure and death. Almost certain death, right? But if that leader understands mission command and they understand what your purpose was to pass on the main effort, right? And so they do a quick map recon and they say, well, this one's out of the question. But 10 kilometers to the south, there's a podium that represents another bridge. Perhaps I should secure that bridge, call back, reorient the main effort so that they can cross the body of water, the obstacle, if you will, so that they can move forward to accomplish the mission, essential task, and purpose of my unit. Just say it was a brigade and we're talking 2 battalions here. The difference between command and control and mission command, a command and control oriented formation will generally stop right here and start asking for direction and guidance. Okay? And the clock starts ticking. And you start getting closer to your grave. Okay? Anybody signing up for that? No. We don't want to sign up for that, right? We're planning on living, right? We're planning on winning. We're in the winning business. All right? Because coming in second place in this business means you're dead. Okay? So what we want to do is we're going to go to this other bridge. It's pretty close by. We're going to secure that bridge. We're going to pass the main effort through, and we're going to put it in the. And my brand of football, my football shape a little bit different than yours. We put that one in the end zone, but in your brand of football, you put it in the net, right? Put one on the scoreboard for the home team. Okay, so that's the difference. I'll give you another example. We'll use the speaker and the podium again. So we're supposed to, let's just say we're supposed to destroy enemy forces on Hill A. We get to Hill A, represented by the speakers. There's nobody there. We take our binos out. We take a look over here on Hill B, and we see a strong point. Where are my intelligence officers at? Anybody in intel in here? We have anybody in the intelligence field? None? Does anybody know an intelligence officer in here? There you go. We know one. Okay? All right? So they don't always get it right. They don't always get it right. But a lot of times they'll get it close. Again, a command and control oriented formation will come and secure this hill. Hey, I secured this hill. There's nothing here. I destroyed a few crickets. I destroyed some grasshoppers up here. Now, I am looking over here on Hill B and I see some other people, but that wasn't my mission. I've got this order right here. It's got a wax seal on it. It's got a stamp. I have accomplished my mission. So who thinks they accomplished their mission over here? If you're a mission command leader, you're going to understand the commander's intent, okay? Because the reason that he wanted to secure this thing to begin with, probably his mission statement is going to be attack to destroy enemy forces on Hill A, to prevent effective direct fires on the main effort, right? All right. But you can look over here at B and you can do the math. Hey, those folks on B can bring effective fires on the main effort if they pass through here. So the intent, super important. The purpose more important than the task. The verbal order taking precedent over the written order with the wax seal or the stamp. Again, easy to say, hard to do. Mission orders. One of my favorite topics. I like things very easy and very simple because when we do the military decision-making process in a room like this, climate control, ultraviolet lights, a lot of time on our hands, and it's important to go all the way through the process when you're training. But when you're cold, you're tired, you're hungry, people are trying to kill you, you have got to break this process down to the simplest most fundamental requirements for you to be able to accomplish your mission. And when you write a mission statement, you know, are we attacking? Are we defending? Are we moving to contact? It's pretty close. It's going to be hard to find one that's not going to fall into one of those from an operational perspective. All right? And, you know, the task, it's important. And I'm sure you have your own doctrinal publications that tell you exactly what seasoned secure is. And so I'll give you another example. Any artillerymen in here? Any gunners? All right, we got an artilleryman? Okay, so a couple people in here that can do math. All right, so in U.S. doctrine, if we said, I want you to destroy the enemy forces that can bring, if we were breaching, for example, destroy enemy forces that can bring direct fire on the point of penetration, where the breach point. So we give that task to our artillery. And when I think I was a captain at the time working on a battalion staff, and my task force fire support officer, he said, sir, you said destroy it, right? And I said, yeah, I want to destroy it. He said, you know now in artillery, that only means 30%. And I said, you mean 7 out of 10? 7 out of 10 combat vehicles and strong points that the enemy may have on that formation is still going to be able to bring effective fire on the point of penetration. And I'm like, what are you guys for? What are you for? I want to kill everything. I want 100%. I don't want to see anything but smoking road wheels. All right? I want to kill everything. And so you got to be careful, and you got to be, as a professional, you've got to understand your craft. You got to understand your trade. You've got to get in the books, and you got to understand that so that you can communicate clearly. And mission orders are a great way to do that. You give them the operation, you give them the task, but you really, as you tie your expanded purpose into your commander's intent, where that mission statement and that expanded purpose and your intent, it should not be for your subordinate commanders to try to look into some crystal ball and figure out what it is that you want. You have to be abundantly clear, and in my mind, as succinct and as few words as you can. Give them that mission order, okay? And make sure that they understand it. Get that back brief, okay? And when the enemy gets a vote, when the terrain gets a vote, when the weather gets a vote, a formation that's punctuated by mission command is going to bend the mathematical odds in your favor every single time. Because now, instead of you thinking at the top and pushing everything down, everybody's going to be thinking. Now, mission command is what it's not, okay? What it's not is 1st Battalion doing whatever the heck it wants to do, and 2nd Battalion driving in front of them. I mean, that's not what mission command is about. You still got graphic control measures, okay? You still got fire control measures. It's not like units are going to just drive off and pick and choose what you say and do whatever they want. But what you want to create in your formation is leaders and soldiers that understand what you want, and that they will go out there and operate effectively to get you what you know you need, okay? But the conditions are never going to be exactly like we describe them. Again, I'm not picking on the intelligence people, but they don't have a crystal ball. They're doing an estimate. They're doing an estimate. They're not going to have a 10-digit grid coordinate to every enemy vehicle. They're not going to have a 10-digit grid coordinate to every enemy weapon system. And where command and control fails us is we go into it with the expectation that everything is going to go exactly like our execution matrix says. But I can tell you, it's at best, and I've been doing this for over 33 years, at best, it's a guide. At best, it's a guide. And formations that can do mission command effectively operate faster in that environment, and they're more effective in that environment. Accept prudent risks. You know, this is a tough one. This is a tough one, and I'll give you an example. And this is a day-to-day example. Happened to me last week as a commander.
Friday afternoon of last week, my phone began, my public affairs officers, first of all, were standing outside my office and they looked a bit nervous. If your public affairs officers ever show up outside your door and they're looking a little bit nervous, it's probably not a good day for the home team, right? It's probably something in the media that's going to embarrass you a little bit, okay? So you all familiar with the media? You got media around here, right? Okay, all right. And so I don't know if it has the same impact on you as it does me, okay? But the public affairs people, they show up and they say, "Sir, we got a problem." What's the problem? They said, "Well, a couple of months ago, we had a unit in Afghanistan that requested some soldier information. We put that information, our people in IT put that information on a hard drive, and they mailed it from Atlanta, Georgia, to Kabul. Somewhere in transit, that hard drive with lots of personal information on soldiers, it didn't make it. And so we sent a letter to all those soldiers letting them know that there may be somebody out there buying a car with your name. And so and to include some retirees. So one of the retirees was not happy about it, sent it to the press. And the press was asking lots of questions about why we mailed that information. Why would we do that? And so then I got a choice. No, a command and control leader would have probably found whoever mailed that hard drive and like set him on fire in front of the headquarters. And when the media shows up, it'll be like, "Yes, we had an issue with that hard drive. Let me orient you to what used to be Sergeant so-and-so that we just set on fire because of this issue." Or I could say, "Hey, we had a legitimate request. We mailed it through the Postal Service." Sometimes things like this happen. And just own it. Just take responsibility for it as a leader. And that's what I did. And the reason that I did that is because if I crush everybody, every soldier that does something that doesn't turn out exactly right, I will not have a formation that can do mission command. And so I will tell you, when you know you got people working for you that are doing it what they think is right, and they believe they're acting within your intent, and they make a mistake, if you smoke them, okay, if you discipline them, now if they're acting in bad faith, that's one thing, but if they're acting in good faith, and they're exercising initiative, and they're doing what they think is right, even if it was wrong, okay, even if it didn't turn out right, we can always retrain that soldier to say, "Hey, next time we do this, let's put add a couple of things to this, but hey, I got it. You did what you were supposed to do. We learned something here through this process," and then we adjust the process a little bit. But if you crush everybody that works for you when it don't come out right, and you start saying, "Hey, where's your written order at?" When there was no written order to mail that hard drive. There was no written order. It was a request from a unit in combat. They said they needed it. The people responsible for it put it in the mail, and it didn't work out right. I will tell you, I have not spoke to the soldier. I've not spoke to the soldier's leadership about it. Said, "Hey, that's a cost of doing business sometimes. That's a cost of doing business. Yeah, we need to go back. We need to take a look at the process. But if you don't underwrite prudent risk, then the audio, what I call the audio and the video, is not matching. If I say mission command out of this side of my mouth, okay, and then somebody goes and does mission command and it doesn't work out and I crush them, we're done doing mission command. We're done doing mission command, because from here on out, that soldier, when somebody says they want something, it's going to be back, "Hey, I need the 2-star to sign me a note saying that I can mail that, or I'm not mailing it." All right, who wants to serve in that organization? When it takes a 2-star to sign off on somebody putting something in the mail. Okay, but I can tell you, we have those organizations in the United States Army. Okay, we have them, and we got to train ourselves through this process just like you do. And I assure you that you probably have them too. And this is where the rubber meets the road with mission command. It's about how much risk and how much authority and who can exercise it at the right level. And that comes back to shared understanding And it comes back to really the center of it is trust. It's trust. Do you trust your people that you've trained? If you've trained them, then you ought to trust them. If you don't trust the people you've trained, you don't trust yourself. And so when I find out something goes wrong in my formation, okay, I got 15,000 soldiers and airmen in the Georgia National Guard. And when something goes wrong, the very first place that I look for the error is in the mirror. I look at me. And hey, did I fail to inspire people? You know, did I fail to put the right controls in place? Have I failed to train people like I should? Did I not communicate effectively? And once I run through those traps, most of the time I find out that the soldier or the airman was acting in good faith. And there may be some retraining required. And every now and then you are going to have a soldier that you know, the bottom 10% are going to need a course correction. Okay? So I'm not dissuading you from tuning up a soldier or making a correction when it needs to be made. I wouldn't, you know, I encourage you to do that. And I think it's important that you have accountability. But you got to be careful with blame. You got to be careful with blame. Problems get fixed a lot faster when you take blame off the table. If you'll notice when something goes wrong, any of y'all ever been in a unit where something went really bad wrong? Anybody? What's the first thing that happens always? Right? I mean, the fingers, toes, feet, everybody's pointing at everybody else about, hey, what went wrong and who can we blame? Okay? Part of the leader's job is to take blame off the table. And so what I try to tell my formation, the way I try to lead personally, is to take blame off the table. Hey, let's if you want to blame somebody, blame me. Now let's get focused on the solution. Leader's responsible for everything his or her unit does or fails to do. If you go back to that, get focused on the problem, you'll get a little bit better. So that's kind of the sin piece. Now I will open it up for dialogue and give you an opportunity to ask questions. And I can only tell you how I failed. I don't think I've succeeded at Mission Command yet. I can only tell you how to do it wrong and maybe take some of those off your list so we can all maybe make some different mistakes going forward.
Just there we go. If anyone wants to ask a question, please stand up, present yourself, the unit where you're from, and just ask the question. And I think we have a mic.
This is okay. You just use your command voice.
Well, if I may, I'll start with the first question. Maybe the guys will get some courage to ask the others. Sir, thank you very much for being with us. We talked a little bit with the office call. How would you be ensure that our leaders will buy from our mission command is better than the command and control? Why? When you make a mistake, you delegate authority, and our subordinate commander makes a mistake. And then, like you say, commanders are responsible whatever unit does or fails, whether it succeeds or fails. And someone, the high commander, requests from me, you failed because you delegated that authority, or you feel by yourself. If I didn't delegate authority, my career would be going smoothly now. And now we're leaving some of my control measures to my subordinates, and then taking that risk that they will make a mistake, and based on the mistake, my career will go under that pressure more. So how do we sell this to our leaders? Every time you tell them you should come up much better because of this, and this. Anyway, sometimes you think of personal interest.
Sure.
Okay. And second one, could you, after that you answer that first question, could you touch a little bit on the discipline initiative and discipline disobedience?
Okay. Okay, so the first thing is how do we sell Mission Command to the formation? And so the answer is pretty simple. And I talked to the minister yesterday, and it's Mission Command's got to be led from the top as you make the transition. You can have company commanders and battalion commanders that are bought into mission command, but the first time they executed, if the brigade commander, the chod, the minister crushes somebody, it will stop in its tracks. I will tell you, I used to go back to the example of the soldier that mailed the day-to-day activities that you do will send a message about whether you're really serious about mission command. Because if I had crushed that soldier, if I had disciplined that soldier, if I had fired that soldier for mailing that disc because I got some negative press, if I'd done something to that soldier, I will assure you that nobody else would have mailed anything to anybody without it going up 4 or 5 levels to build some protection into the system. So I would tell you it starts at the top. And it's you all are the future. The future leaders of the Georgian Defense Forces sitting in this room. If you weren't the future leaders of the formation, you probably would not be in this room. So that's the other piece, is we got to grow a generation of leaders that builds trust, that builds confidence, and that underwrites honest mistakes. That's the best way. Your words and actions have to match. If we say mission command and then we crush somebody that executes mission command because it didn't turn out right, if we don't have their back, we won't have mission command. Okay? Disciplined initiative and disciplined disobedience. Okay? In my mind, it goes back to the commander's intent. It goes back to the purpose of whatever it is that the commander wants to accomplish. Again, let's just say I'm moving toward Hill A. Again, I'm moving toward Hill A, and I see from a distance that there's nobody on it. I cannot see, but I can clearly see that on Hill B, there's enemy. The S2 had told me, he had told the commander it was here. I don't see it here, but I see it here. Disciplined initiative and disciplined disobedience was, hey, sir, I did not go to the hill that you told me to go to. I am now on Hill B. I have destroyed enemy forces on Hill B. I have eyes on Hill A. There's nothing there. And so we can move the main effort forward. So you just technically disobeyed your commander, right? You didn't go where he told you to go. You went, but you understood the commander's intent. Disciplined disobedience is not about going out and doing something that's totally, you thinking, anybody ever heard the term? We overuse this term in the United States Army. It's called thinking outside the box. Anybody heard that? Thinking outside the box? Here's what I tell people. I'm good with you thinking outside the box, but I want you to understand there is a box. There is a box. And all I ask is that you keep the box in your peripheral vision. I want you to be able, if you get so far outside the box that you can't see it anymore, you're in the danger zone. All right? That's not mission command. That's a mob. Okay? That's a mob. So what you want is disciplined initiative, disciplined disobedience. If I can tie my actions back to your intent, the purpose of the operation, and it's not exactly what you told me to do, then I'm in good shape. But if I can't tie it back to your mission order and what you told me to do, then I'm a renegade. Then it's kind of what I've mentored people, and I said, look, don't ever be smarter than your boss. Don't be smarter than your boss. It's not good for your career progression to be smarter than your boss. If I have survived many a commander in my 33-plus year career by using these words. These are magic. These are magic words. Sir, in accordance with your guidance. Those are very important words. Don't ever be smarter than your boss. Okay? So I'm glad you asked that question. What you got?
If a person have an opportunity to take initiative, but he did not, and the situation requested to take initiative, is there any mechanism to kind of correct or control this?
Absolutely, and I appreciate you asking that, Matt Sarn. as you start training your formations to execute mission command versus very directive command and control, you're going to see just that. You're going to see many examples of where, again, just using an easy example, you told them to go to A, they didn't see anything there, enemies on B, but they didn't do anything. They saw it. They saw it, but they didn't do anything. And you're in the AAR, you're in the after action review. And you turn to that commander and you say, hey, what happened up there? And the commander's going to say, hey, sir, you told me to go to A. You told me to go to Hill A. I went to Hill A. I did exactly what you told me to do. And then your question is, hey, did you not see, 2,500 meters to your south, did you not see that strong point on Hill B? Oh, yes, sir, I saw it. But you told me to go to A. So I did exactly what you told me to do. And that's when you can teach, coach, and mentor. This is not something that's going to happen because we say it, okay? Mission command is not going to happen because we say it. Mission command is going to happen when we teach it, when we train it, when we coach it, when we mentor it, and when we conduct ourselves in a way that incentivizes the behavior that we're asking for. If we reward people for taking initiative, you're going to get more people that are going to exercise initiative, okay? So if you told them to go to A and they went to B, you need to put an award on them in the AAR, right? Give them a coin, a pat on the back, the public can recognize them, okay? But when they went to A because you told them to go to A, they saw the enemy on B and they didn't go there, that's when you got to coach. That's when you got to coach and you got to say, hey, what was the expanded purpose of this mission? What was the purpose? And then you got to teach them, okay? And then you got to mentor, and then you got to do it again. It goes back to what I said at the beginning. How do you build that trust? How do you build the agility? Sets and repetitions. Sets and repetitions. They got to do it over and over and over again till mission command is what? Conditioned intuitive response, right? Think about that policeman, all right? And you're driving the car, whether you're speeding or not, when you see that policeman on the side of the road, you're going to slow down, I guarantee you. Almost everybody in this room will. Hope I answered your question. If I didn't, I'll give you 25 push-ups. Good ones.
So, how important is periodic counseling to your junior leaders and NCOs and instilling the mission plan?
I'm glad you asked that question and made that point. You made the point for me. We have got to consistently have these discussions. Again, I've only been doing this for 33 years, and I've always endeavored when people come in to get their evaluations that how they're doing is no surprise. That we counsel them and we give them course corrections and we teach them, we coach them, we mentor. You're going to know pretty quickly when you get back to your formation whether you're commanding a battalion or whether you're an operations officer or battalion XO and the people that you're working for, you're going to know who's doing more than is required. And you're also going to know, you all have job descriptions in the Georgian Army? You have job descriptions, right? How many of you have had a soldier tell you, that's not in my job description? I didn't know these existed until I worked in a multinational environment. And I had a soldier tell me that, sir, that piece is not in my job description. And I'm like, hey, did you share your job description with the enemy? Did you share it with them? Because I want to make sure they know too. But you have got to counsel, you've got to use every opportunity. And again, if you just do it during high-end collective training exercises, you'll never get there because we can't afford to do enough of them. We've got to teach, coach, mentor. We've got to counsel and train every single day, day in and day out. You can ask my aide de camp. Stand up, Captain Junior. This young man right here goes with me everywhere I go. All right? His job title is aide de camp. Captain Junior, tell the crowd what your job is.
Sir, my job is to be a learner at every single day.
That's it. That's his job. He's there to learn. He's not, I got where I'm at today carrying my own bag. I am capable of carrying my own bag. His job is to learn. His job is to learn. Your job is to learn. Your soldier's job is to learn. So when somebody tells you, yeah, we all got a job description and that sort of thing, and sometimes we try to have people that will confine themselves into a neat little protective cocoon, if you will. And when you find them, you got to coach them out of it. You have to coach them out of it. Okay? Answer your question? What else? Yes, sir. Okay.
How do we choose the leaders who have possibility of manage mission command and next develop themselves?
Okay, how do we choose and develop leaders that can do mission command? Okay, if I knew the answer to that for real, then I'd get 2 more stars today. All right? That is a very good question. It's a tough question. But here's how I choose people, okay, for difficult jobs. I look for soldiers and leaders that are consistently doing more than is required. If you find a soldier or a leader that's doing more than is required, generally speaking, they're going to be the right mentality because they're going to want to please you. They're going to want to do well for the organization. They're going to probably work hard to understand the big picture. But it's that soldier in your formation, right, your NCOs out there, that you find with a doctrinal publication in their hand when you're doing something, okay? It's like, if you go to the motor pool, right? If you go to the motor pool, this is how I've picked great NCOs and officers over the years. Take a trip through your motor pool, or take a trip through your arms room, okay? And when you see a soldier or a leader that's doing maintenance by the book, that they're doing maintenance by the book, because none of us in this room, okay, except for maybe the general, sir, okay, has a photographic memory. None of us have a photographic memory. And when you show me a soldier or a leader, if you're going through military decision-making process and they have your doctrinal manual out on the table and they're actually using it, or you go to the motor pool and you find people doing maintenance by the numbers and they're using the doctrinal publications, generally speaking, those are the type of soldiers that you're looking for. You can teach, coach, mentor, develop, because they have the raw material. And I can't describe it for you. I kind of call it a fire in the belly, you know, or a heart for what they're doing, and they're fired up about it, and they want to do well. Those are people that you can tag and you can develop and you can mentor them to the next level. But if you go find somebody that's kind of half asleep in the corner, that never pulls out your doctrinal manuals, that's consistently not where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there, not in the proper uniform, not doing what they're supposed to do, those are the people you need to either train in a hurry or excommunicate. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody ain't cut out for this business. Okay? Yes, sir.
Sir, my question is, how important is mission command in the your service members' career development? I mean, if someone doesn't follow mission command principles, can that be a problem for his or her career, further career development?
Absolutely. I think if I understand the question is, will the inability to execute mission command hold somebody back in our formation with respect to development? And I'll tell you, it will. It will. Because they'll never be able to bend the odds in their favor. They'll never be able to run as fast as their peers. Because everybody, let's just say they're a junior leader, if they're a captain or they're a major, and they got people working for them, what happens is everybody around them is waiting for direction and guidance. Have y'all ever had that soldier that worked for you? Said, sir, I need more direction and guidance, or I need more, I need more information. Has anybody ever had that soldier work for them? I had a bunch of those working for me. And I will tell you that those soldiers generally will not progress as quickly as a soldier that will exercise initiative and not always stand around and wait on a little bit more. Because in my mind, those types of soldiers and leaders out there, in many cases, are looking for an excuse not to act. They're looking for an excuse to wait another day, to procrastinate a task, to push it down the road a little bit. Why? Because what we do is hard. What we do is hard. And so the human inside of us, we have to summon superhuman capability to be a soldier. I believe that. But we have to put the human aside. But what humans want to do is, this is hard, I want to put it off, right? You ever put off a difficult task before? Anybody been guilty of that? Of course. Of course, but we're a disciplined formation. We're a disciplined military. And so it means we have to embrace it when it's hard. And so soldiers that don't do that, and they're looking for more guidance, and they want something from the boss with a wax seal on it, they're not going to progress in our Army. And I doubt as you guys progress through mission command, they probably will not progress in yours either.